Hi guys, Simon Trezellian here, and welcome to the Lockdown Chronicles 16. We've seen a lot going on, as I told you before and anticipated. We've got people on the streets now, people are using their voices, and a lot of decisions will be made really soon. We're starting to see that human beings are going back to the basic nature, and that often happens in a crisis situation. So people will sometimes rise or they'll fall, and that largely depends on their character, on their training, on their mindfulness, and their mindset. So that's what's going on. Today I want to do something different because a lot of people have been asking me like why this is going on, and all this type of thing. And it's interesting because I always look at this as nature has a way of creating a balance in life. Left to its own, nature just does what it needs to do, and everything is fine. There is this natural balance in the world, and it all comes down to the four elements. So what I wanted to talk today about was these four elements, and what they are, and how we're experiencing those elements. So, of course, the elements itself, even the word elementary, is why we have an elementary school. It's a basic school. The basic four elements make up our experience of the world, and they make up the cornerstones, if you like. That's why there's four of them, and they link into the four directions, the four cardinal points. So, nature teaches us the elements at the very, very early stage, in order to be able to allow us as spiritual beings to interact with our worldly experience, and basically allowing us, if we have the will and the wit, to be able to craft these elements so that we can actually have a better experience of life and not just be victims of those elements. So, of course, the four elements are earth, air, fire, water. So these are the very basic forms, and this is why they make up the four, even the four cardinal suits of a tarot pack, for instance. Now, as we actually look at it, the lowest vibration of these molecules is that of earth, of course, so it vibrates incredibly slowly, the molecules. As the vibration increases, we then get fluidity, which is water. That's the watery element, or even of our nature. As we increase the energy even further and the molecules actually spin faster, we then get fire, and as they then vibrate at a particularly high vibration, they become air and then appear to disappear. So it's all about energy, and science will tell you that everything is energy. Everything is vibrating at a frequency and a level which allows those vibrations to actually move, to bond, or to come apart. That's the basics of chemistry, I suppose. So as human beings, we experience these elements. We stand upon the earth. We know that this is there. We see rocks, and we can use those rocks for building or pummeling things. We see the waters. We can drink the water. We need the water even for our own body. What changed us, of course, is fire. That was the element that changed everything. And of course we see the air because we breathe the air, and of course without air, we don't even exist. So when human beings started to realize and were given that spark of life, we were also told, or whether it be instinctively, whether it be from an intervention of God, whatever, human beings then started to change the elements. So when they brought fire, and Prometheus said, the Titan brought fire, from the gods and gave it to mankind. And in this moment, mankind was able then to modify or change the elements around him, and therefore change the experience. So when you put fire with earth, for instance, this is why we have metal ore, iron ore. When you create fire and earth and you put them together, you create metal, and that means you create tools. And humankind are arguably one of the only creatures on the planet that can actually use tools. When we see a monkey using a twig, or we see a rook using a stone to break open a nut, we see them as being intelligent because they're actually doing things and taking on behaviors that are just like us. When you have fire and air together, that creates warmth. And of course, that's what we as human beings needed. We needed to warm our caves. We needed to actually be able to exist in different parts of the world and not just be seasonal creatures. When we put fire and water together, we create steam, and steam creates energy. And this is why one of the first engines was a steam engine. So as human beings, we understood that by raising the vibration of the water and creating this steam and containing it, we were containing a massive amount of power that could actually be utilized to drive things and push things forward. When we put water and earth together, of course, we create clay. And clay was the first building blocks. This is where we started not looking for just natural caves, but we could actually make our own caves after that point with clay blocks. And of course, water and air is vapor, which is the breath, which is life. And earth and air is dust, which of course is death. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. And we all return back to that form, and all of us will turn back into those original elements from which we came, and the cycle of life carries on. So we're seeing at the present time in this earth that nature has a way of reminding us that these elements are there, and has given us earthquakes, which is particularly devastating when we're almost anticipating another one now, certainly on the west coast. Earthquakes are a change in the way that the element of earth places itself and utilizes that energy in order to create change. We've seen dramatic floods as well, and tsunamis. This is where the element of water actually charges itself with a greater energy and comes in and shows mankind that we actually have very little effect on Gaia, or the earth, if it doesn't want it. We've seen with fire, we've seen volcanoes, and we've seen wildfires. As you know, I lost my home to a wildfire. And these fires are going all over and destroy literally everything. We've also seen tornadoes quite recently in Tennessee and Louisiana. These tornadoes come through, and this is the element of air showing its power, and of course hurricanes as well. So all of these four elements have a way of reminding us that they're there, and reminding us of the true power of the earth. But as human beings, we can, with our intelligence and with our experience, we can modify these elements. As I've said, we build houses. We can now make them earthquake proof. We can make hurricane shelters. We can make levees and to stop flooding. We can create fireproof materials. So we know as human beings that we can anticipate that these elements at some point are going to actually give us a hard time, and they're going to encroach upon our style of life. And at that point, it's how we deal with utilizing the other elements in either tandem or in a string, in order to be able to change the way that we actually experience. Now, what comes from that is the fifth element. And the fifth element is nothing that you can see, but it is something that you can experience. And the truth is that the fifth element is around us all the time. The fifth element is within us, it's without us, it is all pervasive. And tomorrow I'll do a little video on the fifth element, and where, why, how and who is that fifth element. So this is Simon Trezelyan. Stay with it. This is basic elementary stuff. So enjoy your lockdown, or enjoy your freedom, as some states are now being able to experience. This is and will pass. This is our experience for now, and I think what you'll find tomorrow in my video will give you that type of hope for the future. So this is Simon Trezelyan, Lockdown Chronicles, and I hope to see you soon. Until that time, bye bye now.